Hey guys, it's Joshua. So good to see ya. Today we are going to be diving into the amazing world of the Monstera Mint. If you're as obsessed with Monstera as I am, I'm sure that you've encountered all of the different kinds, from white tears to Sphinx Mint to Mexican Mint to NOID Mint. There are so many mints out there. It's honestly a bit overwhelming. I'm hoping that this video is going to be a good resource for all of you, whether you have just gotten started collecting Monstera or if you want to learn more about all of the different kinds out there. This is going to be the video for you. This is just a quick teaser for the video. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, I'm sure you have seen my new post with the Monstera Bulbasaur. I do think that that one could be considered a mint, so I will be showing it in this video as well. I recommend going to the description box to check out the timestamps. You guys can choose the mints that you want to learn more about. Hopefully that'll be helpful because there's just so many of them. But yeah, let's get started. What is unique about the Mint Monstera is that any Monstera actually has the potential or capability to produce mint color. It's basically a loss of chlorophyll in the L2 layer of the leaf. The meristem cells fail to produce chlorophyll. So what you're really seeing in a Mint Monstera is this kind of overlay of green and then the white underneath in the L3 layer. And so you get this kind of fun patterning with the green not being super solid or consistent, and that's kind of where the mint color comes from. Here's a great picture from my friend Maguire. He collects Monstera too. He actually found a Tycon mint sport and it's beautiful. You can see the Tycon coloration and the mint coloration as well, and they're very distinct. It's very cool. To help organize this video, I'm going to be dividing the Mint Monsteras into three main categories based on the form. The first form that we're going to discuss is the large form mints, which is a majority of the sports that we're seeing nowadays in the market. The second one being the intermediate form, which is the jungle mints or the NOID form. And then the third one is going to be the small form or the Borsigiana mint. The first large form mint that we're going to discuss is the TC mint, also known as the white monster. This is the one that is most commonly seen in the market and the one that most nurseries are stocking and selling at the moment. This is a really interesting mint because as it grows, it kind of loses its color. So oftentimes when you're growing it from a node or a fresh TC, it'll be very white, and it has the nice kind of green veining all throughout. And then as it grows, usually after a few leaves, it starts to kind of get duller as the leaves emerge, and then eventually goes all green. This is actually supposed to be what it does. The white monster, which came from Kunzo, does the exact same thing. I was able to visit him in October, and me and Kunzo had a discussion about the white monster, and it's just a really interesting mint that goes green after a while, but when you chop it and grow it from a node, the variegation comes back and it becomes very white. I believe that's why he named it white monster, because the way that the white kind of emerges from a solid green node is very kind of monstrous and crazy. It's a really interesting plant. A lot of people complain about the TC mint because it tends to go kind of green after a while, but it's funny because that's actually what the plant is supposed to do. So there's nothing wrong with the TC. The plant is actually supposed to do that. But for people who are buying the mints and they think, oh, it's going to stay white and very highly variegated forever, that isn't the case. We're not really sure yet what causes the mint color to come back on the white monster and the TC mint, but it seems like stress is what really kind of induces it. So either chopping, taking a top cut, even potentially root chopping or trimming the roots could potentially encourage or induce variegation. It's a very interesting plant. The TC mint is becoming very available nowadays. I have a feeling that it's going to become like the next Tycon in terms of availability. You're probably going to be seeing it drop in price very soon. But the ones that are stem propagated from Kunzo, I have one actually from Kunzo that I brought back from Japan. I think those are kind of holding their value, and some collectors are willing to pay a bit more if it came directly from a stem prop of his plant. The next two that I'm going to discuss are often mistaken for each other, so I'm going to show them both at the same time. I'm not really sure what the exact differences between them are because I've seen some referred to as the other, so I'm going to post pictures. You guys can take a look for yourselves. This is going to be the Monstera Sphinx Mint and the Monstera White Tears. The Sphinx Mint is a really nice one. I've had a few myself. Oftentimes they're sectoral in color, so you'll either get a half moon, full moon, or you'll get blocked variegation. If I had to describe this color, I would describe it as a very hazy mint. Oftentimes when it is a fresh chop or a new sprout, the mint comes in very finely textured and is oftentimes more green in the center with that kind of hazy pattern getting more white as it reaches the edges. It's a very nice mint, and the fenestration pattern is also a little bit unique. It gets a lot of holes when it gets mature. It's a really nice one, and if I had to choose a Sphinx Mint, I would probably choose one that had kind of that half moon or full moon coloration because they get very nice. This one is the Monstera White Tears. This is actually a Kunzo variety. It is another Monstera large form mint, and if I had to kind of differentiate between the two, Sphinx Mint and White Tears, I would say the White Tears has a much more chunky, blizzardy sort of appearance in comparison to the Sphinx Mint. So the green kind of comes in larger chunks. This one tends to get more green over time, but so does the Sphinx Mint. And so it becomes very difficult to kind of compare between the two because depending on the stage that they're at, they oftentimes look very similar. When they first emerge, they can be very, very highly variegated, and then the green kind of increases as they age. So there's kind of a debate whether there's a difference between the Sphinx Mint and the White Tears, but more often than not, I see the Sphinx as being much more hazy and finely variegated, and the White Tears has a much more granular, kind of chunkier color. Both of these have become much easier to source nowadays. I think I've seen most of them being offered around 600 to 1K for like a 1 or 2 leaf plant. Even more for a more highly variegated or more mature plant. Of course, that is kind of factored into the price, but it's a really good one to collect. These often don't revert if the color is good. I mean, it could always revert, but more often than not, these seem to be a bit more stable because of the way the color lands on the leaf, since they tend to be sectoral. They're both great. I recommend them. They're very good large form mints, and I haven't had any issues growing them either. This next one I really, really love. I think it's just an overall great mint. If you are interested in the TC Mint or the White Monster, but you're afraid of it going green, or you don't want to have to worry about having to chop or stress the plant to bring back the color, I think this is a really good one to settle for and choose. This is the Monstera Mexican Mint. This one is oftentimes fully variegated. I've seen a few specimens that are sectoral and have some green, but more often than not, you'll find the Mexican Mint being sold as a fully variegated mint. It's a very, very nice mint that is very granular texture all over. It kind of looks like the kind of middle stage of the White Tears and the Sphinx Mints. This is a Monstera that won't break your heart. It's not gonna go green on you. It may slightly go green as they mature, but it's not gonna be anything like the White Monster where you'll have a perfectly variegated plant and then it just puts out green. Like, how frustrating is that? This one is much more stable. It does tend to go a bit greener as it ages, but it's not very fast, and more often than not, the variegation will stay even though it does tend to get more green. This is a really nice one. I think it's an improvement over the TC Mint or the White Monster. I would choose it. I've owned one and I've sold many props of it. It's a very good plant, and most of the propagations that come out are fully variegated too. So in terms of propagation and stability, I would say this one is very good. The variegation is very pretty. I like that it's fully variegated. It's a great plant. In my head, I think of the Mexican Mint as the TC Mint 2.0. There is a new tissue culture mint that is being produced overseas. I think they're calling it Silver Star or something like that. I have a feeling it might just be a tissue culture Mexican mint because it's also fully variegated and has good color that doesn't seem to go away too fast. It's a really nice one. I hope that more of them will become available here in the United States soon, but for now, we have our good old White Monster TC Mint. In terms of color, the Mexican Mint tends to be more on the elbowish whiter side. Some of the mints tend to be a little bit more yellow, like the Siam Mint that I'm going to be discussing later. Yeah, that's another way to kind of identify it, along with the color just being more stable than the TC Mint. This next one is really nice. This one is the Monstera Ocean Mint. I feel like the Ocean Mint is kind of having its revival. I've been having a lot of people ask me for the Ocean Mint, which is cool, but it is a really cool mint. I'm going to discuss kind of the form in a bit, but here's the plant just to show you guys. You can see it is very contorted. There's some sections that are shrunken, some sections that are like the regular Deliciosa and not shrunken. It's very, very unique. This one is kind of a darker mint. It has more of a beige color, which is really interesting. The Ocean Mint is a fun one and I recommend it because what is unique about the Ocean Mint is that all the spots that have this pure kind of variegation, they're all shrunken. So you can see here how these sections are kind of contorted and these green sections are not contorted at all. In fact, they're just the normal Deliciosa shape and these are all shrunken. This is what gives the Ocean Mint its unique contortion, is when these areas are all shrunken, the leaf kind of morphs and has to bend and shape itself to accommodate the variegation. Here is another Ocean Mint example. I believe overseas they're calling this one Ocean Lava because of the way that the variegation comes in on the leaf. You can see that it kind of bleeds into the leaf from the base. It is very, very unique. This is a really nice one. Here's a new leaf to show you guys. This is looking very good. But yeah, Ocean Mint can have a lot of different forms. They can be sectoral like this. They can be all marbly and very even. Most of the times the ones that are more even tend to not be as contorted as say ones like this where there's a lot of shrunken variegation sections. Yeah, Ocean Mint is really cool. You never really know what you're gonna get. What is nice about this one in comparison to other mints is that the color tends to stay the same color even with newer leaves. It's not like the Sphinx Mint or the white tears where the green or the variegation tends to get weaker or more dull over time. This one tends to stay nice and bright. Another one that is very similar to Ocean Mint that I also think is appropriate to show at this time is the Monstera Masterpiece. My masterpiece looks like shit, I'm not even gonna lie. I broke off a leaf while I was propagating it. I took a bottom cut for a friend, but I'm gonna show the leaves right now. They had a bit of cold damage because they were sitting too close to my window, but this one is very similar to Ocean Mint where the contortion occurs in fully variegated areas, but this one tends to be much more brighter, much creamier. The light that I'm showing in is a little bit blue, so it doesn't come off as much on screen, but hopefully you guys can see it is also a very unique Monstera. This one came from Mike D'Andrea over in South Florida. It's a very, very cool sport that he's been kind of selectively chopping to bring out the best color. This one can produce color that is more sectoral as well, or well marbled like this specimen. Yeah, it's a very good Monstera. This next one is the Monstera Siam Mint. This one originated in Thailand. It might be a mutation of the Monstera White Monster. I'm not really sure, but it has that similar kind of phenomena where the color goes green after a few leaves. So oftentimes with Siam Mint, you have to chop it up after 3 or 4 leaves because it just goes all green. The new sprout always comes out variegated, which is good. At least it's consistent in that aspect, but it can be frustrating to grow too. What's unique about the Siam Mint that is different from other mints is that the shape is very cupped. So the outer edges of it tend to kind of curl in, so you get this really awesome bowl effect. Here's some pictures to show you guys so you guys can take a look. This is included in my wishlist video. I really like this one. I don't mind having to chop it to bring back the color because I end up propagating my Monsteras very frequently anyways to keep them nice and small to fit in my room. So I think this one would be a really nice one to have. I hope I can find a Siam Mint soon. They're getting a bit cheaper, so that's nice to see. They're going to become more affordable for more people. I really like that this one has a unique kind of form to it since a lot of the other mints tend to look very similar. This next one that I'm going to discuss, most people probably wouldn't immediately say that it's a mint, but from the way it's grown out to how others have kind of grown it as well and their experiences with it, I would definitely consider it more of a mint. This one is the White Lava. Now some of you are going to take a look at this and go, where's the mint, right? You see the white down the center, it's very clean. It doesn't appear to have any mints, but when I tell you that this plant is so hard to grow, I'm not even kidding. Like, it is kind of a plant. I hate saying that, it's a really cool Monstera, but what is quirky about the Monstera White Lava is as it continues to grow, the center white band often tends to get very wide. I can show you some pictures here so that you guys can see, and along with the increase in the width of the sensor band, it also becomes minty. It's very strange. For me, when I first bought it, when not a lot of people had it, I had expected that it would just continue to keep putting out sensor clean bands of white, but over time it just started getting super minty to the point where there was actually no green on the outside. Like, it was just a minty leaf. It was so frustrating. I don't ever want to get that plant again unless I plan on keeping it small and propagating. I think they tend to produce more white and that classic clean banding when they're chopped, but as they age and continue to put out more leaves, it doesn't stay that way. I don't know if it's temperature, I don't know if it's light, fertilizer, it could be a lot of those things, but a lot of the white lavas that I've seen recently have been doing that. I'm not going to say it's a scam plant because the sensor variegation is still sort of lava, but it doesn't stay the way that you'd anticipate it to stay just based off of seeing pictures on Instagram or Facebook. Anyways, because it does produce that kind of minty color, I would consider it to be a mint, but if there was a way where you could keep that sensor band nice and slim and white, then, you know, maybe it's not a mint. But for this video and for its purposes of what a mint is by definition, then I would consider it a mint, yes. I really like this next one. I think the veining on it is really unique. This one is the Monstera Aurea Mint. This is the most kind of greenish, neonish looking mint. The veining is very veiny. Like, it's not chunky, it's not like sectioned out, it's just a very veiny mint, and it kind of looks like the outside texture of like a watermelon. Like, it has that striping, it's very unique. I've had one before. I don't have it anymore because I kind of had a hard time growing it. The minty sections seem to be very thin, so if you have any issues in your environment or your growing is off or you forget to water it, I found that I have had issues with browning on it. I'm not sure if this is a characteristic that applies to all Aurea mints, but for the one I had trouble, and my friend Trivong over in Redmond, who also collects a lot of Monsteras, his Instagram is mostly Monsteras, he also kind of had that similar issue too. So this might be kind of a harder plant to grow. If you're in an area that has higher humidity or you're growing in a tent, you might be able to have more success. For me, this isn't one that I'm probably able to grow in my conditions here at home. So yeah, hard plant to grow, but the variegation is beautiful. I love the striping. It's really unique and different from the other mints too. So I really like that aspect as well. This next mint is really cool. I haven't really seen anyone else with it, so I am just gonna show it here. It may be very unique, but I call this one Blue Mint. It was sold to me as a Blue Mint as well. It has a really unique texture on it. I don't know if you're able to see that on camera, but it has this kind of freckled color. It's very faint. This is the newest leaf. It has a bit of it as well. But yeah, this is a really cool mint. This is an older leaf, so you guys can see as well. I think this shows better on camera, but it is a very subtle mint. The color is a very light kind of jade green all over. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it other than I think it's very cool. I would consider this one a mint because it does have that kind of minty texture, but it seems like the whole thing may be fully mint, if that makes sense, with kind of some light green splotching. This one has been very slow to grow. I have it in pond in a self-watering pot. It's been doing okay, but it doesn't grow as fast as my other deliciosas, so it may just lack a lot of chlorophyll compared to all of my other ones. Okay, this is what some of you guys watching this video have been waiting for. I just know it because a lot of you have been asking to see it on video. This is a very special Monstera that I love. Yeah, it is the Monstera Bulbasaur. Oh, so nice. Yeah, it's really great. I've been wanting this one ever since I saw it on like Instagram, and I saw it in person at the NOID show in September. It's a very nice Monstera. The variegation is stunning. I can show you guys up close in person. But yeah, you can see that it is super minty. Like, I don't even know if the camera shows it very well, but there is just so much color everywhere. But yeah, this is a 3-leaf specimen of the Bulbasaur. I imported it a few weeks ago and it is doing well in my care, so that has been reassuring. It's a very nice one. This one is from China originally. There's also the Vietciosa that has a very similar appearance. Rumor has it they may be the same plant. I can't confirm either because, well, I don't really know where they came from, but it is a very unique Monstera. It has like the green kind of speckling all over like a typical mint, and it has that light colored base, but there's an additional kind of color behind it. It's like almost like a bluish teal color. I'll show you guys the leaf again. Maybe you guys can pick that up. But yeah, just the layering and everything is absolutely incredible. This is a really interesting one because a lot of the initial propagations that I've seen when this was first propagated, they come out this very kind of solid green color, which was very disappointing to see when I was first thinking of buying it. A lot of the propagations that I saw were green, you know, not much color, and I was like, okay, well, that's disappointing, like maybe it's not stable. But it seems that as they continue to grow from node, the color just gets better and better. So I have a feeling that this is one that just gets better with time as long as you keep it intact and you don't chop. It's very, very good. And it's just unique because the tissue culture Monstera, or the white monster, it feels like does the opposite. It starts out very white and then it gets kind of worse in color. I hate saying worse, it's different, it's green, but in terms of the variegation and the amount, it does get lower in variegation. This one does the opposite and it gets brighter. It's very interesting to compare this plant to the Vietciosa, since a lot of people think they may be the same plants, because a lot of the specimens of the Bulbasaur that I've seen have been more established than the Vietciosas. Because the color improves over time, I have a feeling that it's not a very fair kind of way to assess if they're the same plant, to compare two plants, because you could have a Bulbasaur that looks more bright in person compared to the Vietciosa, but also the color changes as it continues to grow. So I think the only fair way to kind of assess if they may be the same plant would be to just grow it out to full maturity, like 4, 5, 6 leaves, you know, well fenestrated, and then compare at that point. Because if we compare a leaf like this, for example, to a Vietciosa, you know, this leaf may be totally different from this leaf. I don't know if they're the same plant. Speculation may be that they came from the same place, and there's that whole argument over the name. But regardless, it's a very cool plant. I'm very excited to have one, and yeah, I am terrified that I could kill it at any moment, but the roots seem to be doing okay, so I think it'll be fine. This next one that I just pulled out from my other shelf is the Monstera Shamrock Shake. This is another cool sport from Mike DeAndrea. It is really unique because the color is very vibrant, almost like a green on green color, and then it has that green overlay. It's not consistent in any way, it's kind of just random kind of splotching. But yeah, it's very, very cool. This is another one that starts out a bit more vibrant when it's chopped and produces more white, and then gets a bit greener over time. So you could have a shamrock that is more on the whiter side. You could have one like mine that is a bit more green. But yeah, it's unique. Let me see if I can show another leaf so you guys can see the variegation. You can see that kind of chunked color. It's a very good Monstera. These are a bit more on the rare side still. Here is another Shamrock Shake to show you guys. This one is a bit more on the lighter side because it isn't as mature. But yeah, I can show you guys this minty color. Hopefully it becomes more obvious to see on here. But yeah, it's a very nice Monstera. I prefer how they look when they're a bit younger because the mint is just more contrasted because of the brighter base. But yeah, it's really cool. This is another unique sport. This one, I'm not sure if this one could be considered mint. It's very minty in appearance, but maybe just fun to show. This is a unique mutation where it kind of has a bit of lava coloration running down. It's really unique. It has like lighter margins. It's very, very funky. I believe Mike DeAndrea has a similar type that he calls Flamicito. Mine did not come directly from him, so I don't know if it's from the same lineage, but it has a similar type of mutation where it has this kind of bleeding appearance, and the whole thing is just kind of minty looking. Yeah, very, very funky. Just thought I'd show you guys. This next one that I'm going to show, this is a sport that I've been selling props of recently. It's a really unique, fully variegated, contorted Deliciosa. I call this one Jade Goblin. This is how the leaf looks. You can see it is very finely variegated all over. The leaf is unique and contorted, and as the leaves age, they actually get this kind of brighter color. I believe some folks overseas are calling this Monstera Octopus as well. It has a similar kind of contortioning in color, but this is what it looks like. It's very, very unique, and it has been consistent in growing. I've had a few of these do well for me, a few props from my mama. So yeah, this is a cool new sport that I'm hoping I'll be able to release more of in the future. I've already sent a few to some friends, so yeah, here it is. I have two that I'm gonna show next. These are Monstera Mint Sports, so they don't have an official name or anything, but they are very cool, and I think they show a lot of the good characteristics with mint in terms of how the color kind of evolves over time. So here is a really nice mint of mine. You can see the leaf is like the size of my torso. It's very big. I'm kind of struggling showing them, and they're a little heavy, so please bear with me. But it's a very, very nice mint. And then this one that I'm gonna show next, this one is unique because it's a bit more on the white side, but it is still minty. Hopefully you guys can see it here. It does have this kind of fine minty color all over. I think this leaf shows it better. You can see there's some light mint splashing all over, but basically the mint is just where that kind of fine green mottling occurs over the variegation. That is basically what a mint is. This one is a bit more on the whiter, creamy side, and this one is a bit more on the minty side. So these are the two kind of side by side. Okay, this is the mint side by side, so you can see kind of the variation in the two. Yeah, they're really good. The last large form mint that I'm going to include in this video is the Monstera Devil Monster. This is a new one that was shown at last year's Bangkok Exotic Plant Show and sold for around 40,000 US dollars. It's very nice. I think it is really unique compared to the other mints because it just is so white, and it seems to also do that thing where it gets even better in color as it ages, like the Bulbasaur, so I'm really excited for that. I'm not really going to talk much about the Devil Monster because I don't have much information on it personally, but it's a really unique plant. I hope that the TC is successful for it and that other people will be able to get it, since a lot of the propagations right now from stem are still very, very expensive. Now we can finally move on to the intermediate form mint, also known as the jungle mint, aka the NOID mint, aka the berry mint, aka the Brazil mint. This plant has been called so many things, and it is a very, very unique one. If I had to choose like a favorite out of the three forms of mint, I would probably choose the NOID mint. And the reason it is called a NOID mint is because it was never formally recognized or described. This was actually one that Barry Schwartz had in his greenhouse. I believe he's had it for the past 30 years or so and has taken lots of stem propagations from it. It's a very unique mint because of the form, and the reason why it's called NOID mint is not only because it hasn't been described yet, but because the form itself is very unique. So if you take a look at this leaf, for example, you can see that the fenestration is very, very close to the midrib in comparison to the other Monsteras. It is very, very thin and very wide. It's much more skeletal than the others, and it almost reminds me of a Brazil form. That's why some people call this a Brazilian mint, because of the unique shape. It's very, very unique. An easy way to tell if you have a NOID mint is it'll have a form that's in between kind of a large and a small form in terms of the internodal spacing. The petiole sheath will be kind of long like a small form, so it goes around 3/4 or a little over halfway. And what is unique about the fenestration is that they are evenly spaced from the midrib going down. So if you see here, it kind of forms like a rectangle shape. I think this one shows it better. It kind of forms like a rectangle shape over here, whereas a large form mint, most of them, they start out a bit wider towards the top and get more slim. So you'll have much more of a inverted triangle or T-shape. It's a very, very unique one. Another thing that is unique about this one is that it can produce different shades of mint as it ages. More often than not, this one tends to come out much more albo, like how my plant is presenting right now. And then over time, it gets much more minty. You can see this one is having the same kind of phenomena where it gets more minty towards the center, and then the next leaf is probably going to be a little bit more minty all over. I've tried this with a few of my mint NOIDs where I have given them more fertilizer and they've stayed much more albo. My friend Christiana St. Clair, her Instagram is Auntie. She has worked with Berry directly and she has kind of agreed that more fertilizer tends to keep them a bit more white. So if you prefer the white, you can try giving it a bit more fertilizer and hopefully you'll get a much more albo presenting plant. But they can go from this super white to a deep super green mint. It's the great all-around mint. I feel like it can produce everything that you want and it's just easy to grow. Like I haven't had many issues with it. I've had a lot of success growing mints. I find they root pretty easily. I find they grow very well. They tend to kind of climb upwards, so these are good ones to put on a pole compared to a lot of the large form mints that tend to be more of a crawling type. I think everyone should have a jungle mint this year, especially with how easier they are to find nowadays. They've become cheaper and the color is just fantastic. Yeah, a high color mint like this, definitely worth the splurge. This baby is a good example of a full mint NOID. So when this one gets fully variegated, it has this kind of unique variegation that covers all the surfaces. This is also a good example of the extent that the mint variegation can kind of go from albo to like this really kind of dark mint. Yeah, this is a really cute baby. She's getting shipped off soon, so I'm gonna miss her, but yeah, full mint NOIDs are there too. Full jungle mints, they're great. The last and final mint of this video is gonna be the third category, which is the small form mint. There does exist a Borsigiana or small form mint. It's very unique. This is one that often comes out a bit more white when it first emerges, and then as it continues to age, the subsequent leaves become more minty. Here's a few photos of them so that you guys can take a look. These are an interesting plant because some sellers here in the United States are selling them as a Brazil mint. I wouldn't really call them a Brazil mint because they're not really a Brazil form. They're just more of a small form just based on the fenestration and the shape and the petiole sheath length. They are just a small form mint, and I think a lot of people didn't know about this mint or that it existed. They're not super popular overseas, but they've become more available nowadays. Here's a small form mint. There is a small form mint in existence, just to clarify. It's really cool. I would personally get one that had a bit more of a mature form with a half moon, but because they are a small form, the leaves tend to be a bit on the thinner side, so they tend to be more fragile in shipment. Those are all of the mints for today. I hope that you guys found this video enlightening because there are so many different kinds that a lot of people didn't even really know about. I hope that I can continue updating this guide as more mints become more available and make new videos in the future. But for now, these are the mints that I think everyone should know about. Thank you guys again for joining this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any other recommendations for videos or anything else that you want to know, feel free to PM me on Instagram or message here on YouTube. And let me know in the comments below what your favorite mint is. I'll see you guys later. Bye.